Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works workshop. Actually doing some real work for a change, huh? Instead of just talking live. I have a mandolin top here that I'm working on, and I'm going to cut out the F holes. And it's a dangerous time for me to go live for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm doing very tedious work here. And number two, I think I'm in a rant mode. So, whenever you get into a rant mode, you got to be careful about what you say. But my first rant is about this dumb tool. I've had a gazillion of these over the years, and people have recommended other ones too. And I've used other ones for like cutting out pearl and different things. But all of these type saws, and maybe there's an exception somewhere, they always have some kind of a pot metal screw threaded thing in here, and as you tighten this up, that's what tensions the blade. And anyway, that pot metal always wears out. If somebody worked for me and made that decision to put pot metal there, trust me, they'd be fired. Caleb just heard that, by the way. Caleb's over there slaving away. Let me just turn the camera that way real quick so you can get a view of how this is all related. See if Caleb can come in. There he is, way over here. Wave to the folks, Caleb. There he is, yeah. So that's how we're oriented here in the shop, just so you know. It says reconnecting. I don't know if I accidentally pressed something by moving that. Probably did. It looks like it's still counting, and it looks like people are still out there, so I'll look at comments here in a minute, but right now I am kind of focused on cutting this out, this F hole. I thought I would just, I thought I'd ask you, number one, are you excited about chocolate going live tonight? Because I am. I don't want to give away the ending, but it's a nice ending. You're going to really like it, I think. I will tell you, don't get your hopes up. It's not about the customer. The customer's, as a matter of fact, the customer doesn't know anything about chocolate. The end user customer, let's put it that way. The family does, but the young lady that owns chocolate, as far as I know, it's still a secret to her. But anyway, I thought I'd just go live and talk a little bit. There's a lot of things that people ask about all the time. Hopefully you can hear me over this song. One of the things that people ask about is setups and things like that, and action and different things. And I think that people get to thinking that these numbers are much bigger than they are, Like, for instance, relief, as an example. 12 thousandths of an inch relief. That's quite a bit of relief, actually. And yet that's only the thickness of about 3 sheets of notebook paper. And that's pressed tightly together. So it's not very much. So typically, if you can see down your fretboard, and you see what I call underbow, meaning that you can see a pretty good bow there, that's not relief, that's underbow. That's my opinion. For the most part, 12 thousandths of an inch is barely noticeable. Now, I can see it because I'm used to looking for it. And I'm sure many of you can see it too, once you get used to looking for it. But just so you understand, these numbers are much smaller than they sound like. That's one example. Another example is, like an eighth of an inch would be, that's 125 thousandths, just to give you another comparative number. Well, that 12 thousandths of an inch, you could fit 10 of those in an eighth of an inch. So that'll give you some idea. You're talking about a really, really, really small amount. And I'm just sawing away here. The way this thing works too is you have to keep turning the blade so that your that the back support there doesn't hit the top as I turn it. And now I'm going to go back down the length. Saw this thing out. This mandolin, I believe, is going to New York. Keep in mind, I'm filming this and recording the sound and everything all on just a Samsung tablet. So, again, it's one of those things. It is what it is. You get what you get. I'm also on my own little network, so every once in a while you're going to see pausing and different things in the live feed. That's just the way it is. Out here in the middle, we're lucky to have internet, period. And in case you're interested in that, I use a cell tower internet service. It's 4G antenna service. And it's been very good, actually. The upload speeds are pretty good. They're 10, 12 megabits per second. For upload, that's pretty darn fast. And download speeds are up to 30-some megabits per second. So it's pretty fast for rural internet. I'll show, as soon as I finish cutting this out, which won't be long, I'm going to show you something else I learned yesterday. Whoops. Got to be careful with this. You can split the whole top out if you let something slip too much. I'm almost there. Cutting out these F-holes, believe it or not, it's one of my least favorite jobs. It really is. So thank you for taking my mind off of it. I really don't like doing that. I don't know, it's just not a fun job. And I like smoothing them off with the file and making them detailed. I like that part, but I don't like cutting them out with this saw. And as far as I know, this is about the only way to do it. You could do it on a regular table jigsaw too, I guess, but there's so much chatter there that you could actually end up splintering the top too, if you're not careful. And you could do that with this as well, by the way. But I try to be careful, and now I'm trying to get the blade out. There it is. I think I got it. Okay. So I got the blade out, and the whole saw just fell apart. So you can see I've got to saw out another one of those. I'll do that in a minute, maybe on camera. And the saw fell apart there, so I'm finding the parts as we speak. One of the other things I learned yesterday, you know, luthiers, and especially, I think, and I don't mean to sound snobbish on this myself, but especially those snobbish luthiers that learned the old Italian methods and learned through the classical violin training, in my opinion, we're all a bunch of sheep, and especially those folks. They don't look outside of what they learn. They got these blinders on, they go straight ahead. I do that too. And one of the things I've done for years is use wet or dry sandpaper, because everybody says wet or dry sandpaper is what you use on finishes, you know, and put a little soap in the water, and wet or dry sandpaper is the way you achieve that great, you know, finish. You keep sanding it down and, you know, working and working. Well, through a comedy of errors yesterday, I wasn't getting the results I was looking for when I was sanding the guitar I'm working on. And for some reason, I went to just my regular dry sandpaper, normal, everyday 220 sandpaper. Instantly, the results were totally different, and they were way better. And I thought, wow, why don't I do this all the time? It started taking the finish off things started getting level. There was no buildup on the sandpaper. It just was totally different experience. Night and day difference. Completely 180 degrees apart. Here's the result so far. Now, as of yesterday, this thing was so pitted with the grain pits in this Paduk that it was just unserviceable. You couldn't have done anything with it. I mean, it was just horrible. And I had been sanding for hours with the wet or dry sandpaper. And I think I was using 320, which is fairly coarse for wet or dry sandpaper. And it just still wasn't knocking it off. I mean, it was, and it would have got the job done, but I'd have spent many, many more hours getting there. Well, what I did was I went to, now this isn't the grit. Well, yeah, this is. Here's some 220. And if you look at this stuff here, see it says, well, keeps being upside down and sideways. When I look at it in here, it looks backwards. I guess that's my problem. Okay, anyway, it's no slip grip 220. This 3M no slip grip, and it also is the other name for it, and I'm looking for it here. I can't find it. I'll find it on something else. Sandblaster Pro. Throw all your other sandpaper away. I'm seriously telling you. Now, Lowe's has this also, and Lowe's has it in their brand name. And this is good stuff. It is like night and day better than all the other crap you've ever used. Do yourself a side-by-side comparison. You will thank me. You will bless me. I promise you. It is that different. I had Caleb come over and do a side-by-side, and he's going like, wow, there's a huge difference. Like for just as an example, as a difference, if I was using the wet or dry, you put it on this finish, on this guitar finish here, and it would just roll up the finish, just roll it up. It was just annoying and obnoxious, and nothing was coming off, really, but it still would roll up the finish. Put this on there, just turns the finish to powder, just knocks it down, doesn't build up at all. Trust me, try it, you will like it. It is worth it. I first used 220 on this, then I went to 400, and you can see it's almost flawless now, just with one sanding. And I had already sanded it a couple of times with the wet or dry, and it was just like getting nowhere. Seriously, folks, you will not believe it. It's that different. Throw your wet or dry away. Just get this stuff. And I wish they made this in a 600. They don't. So, I went up to 400 with that and then resprayed it, thinking that I'll probably see lines. There's no lines. I don't see any lines at all. It's really nice. It's really nice. So 400 may be all you need. It'd be really nice if they had at least a 600. And then, as a last resort, you can take this after you get it down to 400, and then you could always go to your 1200 wet or dry or something like that. So, but that would be a lot easier because you didn't have to, spend all that time in the wet or dry. Forget what you've been told. Throw the wet or dry away. Use this stuff on your finishes. You will not believe the difference. That didn't cost you any extra, and I promise you, you will like it. It's night and day difference. Okay, back to sawing out this F-hole here. I'm going to see if I can put this back together. So I don't see any comments at the moment. Let me scroll up here. Okay, there's some comments. Try some diamond paper. I don't know about that. I've tried a lot of diamond things, and they're okay. I haven't tried diamond paper, so maybe I shouldn't say anything, but I have tried a lot of different things, diamond burrs and diamond this and diamond that, and I'm not all that overly impressed. The diamond whetstone, if you want to call it that, the sharpening stone, that works pretty good. And the diamond sharpening stones for sharpening chainsaws, that works really good. But most of the other diamond stuff, like the burrs and things, they don't cut it with me. I don't know about the sandpaper. I've never tried that. Let's see here. I really enjoy your tubes. There's a lot of lines with that one. I spend a lot of time watching. I have some old instruments that need help, but I will keep watching things. Okay. Good morning from Canada. Well, good morning, my friend. That's Funky Pat in Canada. Well, you know, I just put this back together absentmindedly talking to you, and I can't put it together until I put it through this hole. That's what happens when you go live. You do things dumb. Great work from Norway. Well, thank you. Gooder morning from New Jersey. Yeah, I've been to New Jersey. I drove right down through the middle of New York once. In my younger days, in my more naive days. Woo, was that ever an experience? I wouldn't do that again now for sure. Do you break the back of sandpaper? Do I break the back of sandpaper? Well, I guess I'd say no, because I don't know what you're referring to there. So, I mean, does it ever sort of look like it's broke and cracked when I'm done? Yeah, but I don't break it. I mean, I don't know what you mean by that. Sorry. I don't know everything, and that just proved it right there. Let's see. With your saw, I thought, what is he doing? I'm sawing out the F-holes. And now, for some reason, like I told you, this pot metal crap, that's all it is. It's just crap. It's not threading on correctly or something. There, no, it's still not. It's cross-threading now, I think. When you know. These are junk. I'm going to take this apart and make a steel connection here, and then it won't be a problem. 3M has always been the best for tape and sandpaper. That is a fact. I believe that. Agree 100%. What type of bracing on the Mando? Good morning. This is the standard bracing with the tone bars. It's got the bass bar and the treble bar. And now I believe I've got the blade in the correct orientation. And I'm ready to cut out this next line. And if I can see any topic to talk about, let's see, avoiding work in London, England to watch me work. Well, I guess if you want to play hooky on my account, that's okay. Friends, let's see, let me see here. They go away so fast, and I'm a slow reader. Hi, Jerry. I have vintage Friends manofrets from StuMac. I won't use them. Would you like them? You know, sure. You know, I mean, we'll take any parts. You know, I think if you saw one of my most recent shop talk, you'll see how I organized the shop with all of the parts that people sent me. And I spent some pretty good money on cabinets and things, organizing everything. And part of that was just so Caleb could find stuff. I knew where it was, but Caleb was having trouble. Now we both can find stuff. And I got to be honest, it was way overdue on organizing. It was way overdue. All right, now we're cooking. You probably can't see it here, but I have a little extension sticking out from my workbench that I've got this setting on. It's just a board sticking out, and I have it supported on that board. Yeah, still fighting this thing a little bit though. Let's see if I see another comment or two. 3M paper goes up to 2,000 grit. It might, except that I can't find it in this brand, in the Sandblaster Pro with the non-stick back, the stuff that's guaranteed not to build up. I can't find anything higher than 600 in that type of paper. I know they make all kinds of grits, don't get me wrong, but I can't find it in that particular brand of paper any higher than 400. And trust me, I looked quite a while yesterday. Although that doesn't mean anything, I just couldn't find it. If you find it, let me know, because I will definitely buy some 600 for sure in that paper. And I don't say that lightly, folks. When I tell you to try something, I mean seriously try it, because you will be surprised of the difference. It is huge. It's not similar at all. It's totally different. All right, I'm having this shouldn't be as difficult, but talking and not paying attention, it makes it more complicated. There we go. I'm getting there. It really is one of my least favorite jobs, cutting these out. I don't know why. I just don't like doing it. The home stretch now, I think. Just going to concentrate here for just a couple of more minutes and I'll be done with this. This is why I don't go live, because it takes a lot of concentration to do this. People have asked me, why don't you go live while you're working? Well, it's kind of hard to do, really. It really is. But I thought I'd give it a shot. Well, let's see here. And the saw is just not doing anything to help. It's trying to play hard to get along with. Let's see here. Almost done. I got another half semicircle to go. There we go. Okay, got her sawed out there. Like I said, just not my favorite thing to do. It's mostly because it's so fidgety with these saws. You have to keep flipping the back of this around all the time, changing your angles in order for everything to work out. And then you have to unscrew it so far to unhook the blade. And again, this cheap crud pot metal here is just cheap junk. You can just see the dust coming off of it because it's just grinding itself into nothing as you use it. Again, whoever made that, I'd fire them. I seriously would if they worked for me. If they said, hey, here's a way we can save 3 cents on every saw, I'd just say, you're fired. Okay, there you go. And you can see the cloth reinforcement on the inside. Lloyd Lower did that on his, high-end mandolins. Now, keep in mind, this has got fuzzies on it, so it might rattle a little bit, possibly. But let's just listen to this and see if you can hear it. Before I cut these out, it's pretty darn good. I don't know what it'll sound like now. It's got a very clear tone. Got a very clear tone. Really nice clear. I can hear it that long. So it's got a nice long sustain. Going to be really a good top. Got to do a lot of detail on it now, and before I glue it to the sides. I've got the sides worked up here too. Look at this. Now, hopefully you can see how wonderful. Look at the curl in these. This is quilted maple. It's not just curly like straight across like it would be. And I don't know if you can see the winking that's going on there, but that is going to be gorgeous once finish gets applied to that. I mean, it's probably the most beautiful set of sides I've ever seen. So that's going to be gorgeous. And then, of course, I've got the back pretty well carved also, and it's also the quilted maple, and you can see how gorgeous that's going to be too. So that's going to be a neat mandolin when I'm done. What else we got going on here? It's the special tone, very loud on the completed mandolin. And finally, I'm not sure what he means there. Sorry. Sometimes I'm not very good at reading. Going to be fabulous with that maple. Yeah, it's going to be a great mandolin. I can't wait to get it done. Let's see. Let me scroll back and see if I miss a comment or two. I hear music in that top as you are cutting. Yeah, it's seriously going to be a great top. It really is. You can, I'm just going to be honest with you. The back probably of this type of maple has a little less tone than what I'm used to, although it's got a decent tone. It's not horrible. I've heard tops that don't sound as good as this back. So, I mean, it's not terrible at all. But this top is almost exceptional. It's really, really good. It's really good. It's got a very clear note. So, even if the back is just a little bit off of what I think is my norm, the top's going to make up for it. And, the top is 90% of your instrument. People all the time are asking me things like, could I use oak to make my, guitar? Well, you should really understand woods and their properties. And while you could make a guitar out of oak, first of all, it's going to be heavy because oak is a heavy wood. Second of all, it would probably bend okay because oak bends pretty good. But third, it ain't going to have any sound. You can tap on an oak board and it's just like stepping on a plum, just nothing. You just get nothing out of it. So, if you tap on your board dry and you hear a nice tone in that board, then you probably have a chance of making a decent instrument out of it. But just in a nutshell, I mean, most of you know this, but just for those folks that aren't really into this, there's a lot of people that watch this stuff that say that they're not a musician at all and they don't understand any of this stuff, but they just like to watch these videos. But just so you know, the top is always made out of a soft wood. And a soft wood, people have problems with that definition, by the way, because softwood really just means it's an evergreen tree. I mean, if you really just boil it down to what it is, that's what it is. A softwood is an evergreen. A hardwood is a deciduous tree. I mean, that's, there probably is a rare exception somewhere that I'm not even familiar with, but who cares? In general, a softwood top is made from some sort of an evergreen tree. It could be redwood, it could be western cedar, it could be spruce, different various kinds of spruce, but generally speaking, the top is always a softwood. The one exception that I know about, two exceptions, and there could be more, would be koa. Sometimes they'll make a koa top, sometimes they'll make a mahogany top. And as a matter of fact, mahogany tops are fairly common. He's working on one right now. As a matter of fact, an old Martin guitar that has a mahogany top. So, you know, but mahogany, on the other hand, and I don't know about koa, to be perfectly honest with you. I haven't really used any koa wood in the raw, so I can't really speak to koa too much. I've seen a lot of koa instruments, but mahogany is about the softest hardwood there. Well, it's not. Balsa is much softer. Yes, I know that, but I mean in the tone woods that we instruments, mahogany is by far about the softest wood there is for instruments. In terms of back and sides, and in terms of, that's why it works for the top too, because it's a little softer tone. See, what the theory on your instrument is, the top gives you that soft mellow tone, and the hard back bounces it right back out to you where you hear it. So you definitely always want a hard wood for your backs and sides, and you definitely always want a soft wood for your tops. I mean, that's, you know, again, that's kind of the blind sheep thing going down. You can always experiment, but I have experimented. I've seen lots of experiments, and it pretty much proves that this is the way you want to do it. So, you know, you might find an experiment that'll work differently, but, you know, another thing that people think is that they think they're unique in their experiment. Trust me, you probably can't even come up with something that somebody hasn't already tried already. I mean, it's seriously experimented to death. It really has. It's kind of like writing songs. You think you're coming up with some really unique melody, and you really believe you've created a melody that nobody's ever heard of before. And the first time you play it, people will go, oh, that kind of sounds like such and so, because it'll have a passage from another song. There's almost no way to create anything that's totally unique anymore like that. You know, within reason. What key is Jerry sawing in? Well, I was sawing in a key hole. That's what I was sawing in. There you go. See, I haven't lost it yet. Alzheimer's hasn't set in yet. Close, but it's not yet. Balsa is a hardwood. Yes, it is a hardwood. But as I was saying, it's, you know, I was talking about mahogany, and mahogany is a hardwood. I said mahogany is about the softest wood, and then I said, no, balsa is actually softer. So in hardwoods, balsa is the softest hardwood I know about. Mahogany, though, is really soft for a hardwood. That's what I was explaining. If you didn't understand me, sorry. And he says balsa is the softest hardwood. Yes, at least that's my understanding. There may be a softer one out there that we don't know about, though. You'd be surprised with the thousands and thousands of species of trees. It wouldn't surprise me at all if there isn't one softer than balsa out there. That it's just, maybe it's some little spindly tree that nobody cares about. There is a digital collection of all possible melodies. There is a digital collection of all possible melodies. Well, maybe. I don't know anything about that. Wouldn't surprise me, though. What is tap tuning? Well, in a sense, I mean, you know, you can take it to any level you want to. I don't go to the strobe level that a lot of guys do. I go to my ear and I listen to it. And what I want to hear is, I don't want to hear dissonance. In other words, you can hear it in the top. You can hear two notes, kind of like they're just kind of doing this. And it's like, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear boom, you know, just one note coming at me. And when I get there, I typically quit. And that's what I've got here. It's a clear note. And earlier when I checked this, it was a G sharp. I don't know what the note is right now after cutting the F holes. It may have changed a little bit. What you try to do is try to tap tune it to a note that is not on your open strings. For instance, like a D. You wouldn't really want your top to be a straight D, because anytime you're playing a D chord or anytime you're playing an open D string, it's going to ring even that much louder on that particular string. So you want an even sound across the board. So a G sharp would actually be a pretty good note for it to land on. You know, that's my opinion. You know, everybody's got an opinion. Are you or Caleb in the future working on the banjolin? Can be a practice piece. I will see it in the future. I'm not sure which one you're talking about. If you're talking about that one that came in as parts, and we set that on the shelf for now. I don't want to say too much more about that right now, but eventually something might happen with that, if that's what you're talking about. Caleb has been doing some absolutely blow your mind projects. You won't seriously believe it. As I told you before, Caleb had zero experience when he walked through the door. Zero. He's not related to me. He just applied for the job. I hired him. And we seem to get along okay, mostly because I talk and he doesn't. And that's pretty much the truth. I don't think he would say, S if he had a mouthful. Anyway. No from the Netherlands. Okay, no from the Netherlands. What does that mean? Okay, I'll say yes from the Netherlands. Caleb is a natural born star. Yes, I guess he is. His fan club is mounting daily. But seriously, when you see a couple of his newest projects that come through, it's going to be another chocolate. Seriously, I'm not kidding you. There's a couple of them that are they'll blow you away. You won't believe it. I don't get me wrong. I kind of ride herd over all of it, but that should be expected since he had zero experience. But he's doing the work. It's not me doing the work. So anyway, it's working out great. Let's see here. Anybody else got any information? How is your apprentice coming along? Well, I think I just told you. From France, successful live. Great. Okay, well, good. I'm glad it's coming through. Again, we could have some fidgeting in the video because of our network here. Has teal any place in lutherie? I'm sure you could make a nice instrument. Are you talking teal or teak? I think you're talking teak, aren't you? I'm not sure if I know of a wood called teal. There's a color called teal in there. Maybe Alzheimer's is sitting in. I think you're talking about a wood called teak. And teak could definitely make a decent instrument, I think. Most any real hard wood could, but the simple truth is you pick it up and you tap on it, and if it makes a note, kind of like a wind chime note, when you tap on that, if you can hear a note in the wood, then it's probably a decent wood to make something out of. If you tap on a piece of oak like I've done, and it just goes, nothing. It kind of like a pine board. It has the way to do with the way it's sawn. Like if you just pick up a 2x4, you can sometimes get a note out of a 2x4, but not generally very much. But if it happens to be a quarter sawn 2x4 and you tap on it, it'll probably make a decent note. So quarter sawn makes a big difference too on your softwoods especially. And if you don't know what quarter sawn means, that's basically these little, you see the growth rings going down through the top like this. Slab sawn is where you see the actual grain pattern, like you'll see the long grain pattern through the wood. That would be slab sawn or flat sawn wood. Quarter sawn, though, is they basically turn the log up on the round and they cut pie wedges out of it. That's the simplified way to explain it. That's not how they saw it in the sawmill, generally speaking. But except for certain sawmills that are sawing specific instrument wood, in that case, they do saw it like pie pieces. Matter of fact, I've got a lot of those here. So here's maple sawn as just like pie wedges, and here's spruce sawn just like pie wedges. Now this one here is taped together and it's been folded back, but you can see the seam down through there, and it's two big wedges. And basically, it grew in the tree like this. They split it out, and then they just open it up, and then you have book matched pieces. And you can see how the grain matches from one side to the other. So that's That's the book matching. And if you look at the very end grain, you can see the rings go around the tree. You know, these are, so that's what quarter sawn, true quarter sawn is. Now there's other variations of quarter sawn. You know, in the big sawmills, when they call it quarter sawn, it's sort of quarter sawn compared to that. It's not exactly perfectly pie-shaped wedges, but they do it to save lumber, and I understand why they do it. Let's see. Good afternoon from the UK. Hello there. Slab sawn would be cathedral type grain pattern. Yeah. I think there's a lot of different kinds of slab sawn patterns. Have you ever heard of ironwood? Yes, I have. And can it be used? You know, I know about ironwood, and the truth is I don't know enough about it, so I don't know for sure that it could be used. You know, again, if you had a good quarter sawed board of it and you pick it up and you tap on it and it sounds good, probably it could be used. It's really not that of a rocket science. It's just that you want to use it in the right place on your instrument. Back and sides for hardwoods, tops, softwoods. It's just that simple. And if you violate that rule, you probably aren't going to have a great instrument. It'll still play, but it won't sound as good as if you didn't violate that rule. At least that's been my experience. Would the quilted maple work for making cellos and violins? Absolutely. Yes, it would be no problem at all. You could do that. Hi from Paris, France. From San Antonio, do you tap tone the wood before you purchase it? Yes, I do. I go into the hardwood lumber stores. There's you know, a couple of stores within 2 or 3 hours driving distance of here that would sell like Paduke. And I call them ahead of time and ask them if they've got any quarter sawn Paduke, and then I run up there and pretty much buy everything they've got. You know, that's how I do it, to be perfectly honest with you. I pick it up and I tap on it in the store and I listen to it. And you know, they had a lot more Paduke that I passed on. I picked up, you know, the ones I bought. They sounded awesome. I mean, you know, like I know they're going to make great guitars. There's just no doubt about it. Hi from India, love your videos. Thank you. Petersons, yes, I've seen a lot on the Petersons. I don't think I've ever met them. I don't think I have. I might have met them years ago, it seems like, but I doubt it. It may have been some other family. I've met a lot of folks in music, I really have. Well, let's see here. I don't see any more questions that I wanted to answer. I'll just answer one here that people always ask about. You know, I figure I can't talk about this one too much. I've talked about this in at least a dozen videos, at least, if not more than that. And that is this taper gauge. Everybody's always asking me, what is that taper gauge? This taper gauge is called Insize. I don't know if that's going to focus. Probably not. It doesn't really focus like the other cameras do. But Insize, I-N-S-I-Z-E, and the number on it is 4630-1E, and that's some really tiny print right there. And I didn't have to put my glasses on to see it. I've always been nearsighted, but truly, as I get older, I'm needing these a lot more. Let's see. What was the first thing I restored? Boy, I've been doing stuff since I was a little child. I really have. I kind of grew up doing stuff like this. I really have. I would say, if you really want to say, the first thing I did was probably a go-kart. You know, and then I made a lot of bows and crossbows. Matter of fact, let me just show you a crossbow. I made this when I was a teenager. I keep it hanging on the wall. I don't use it anymore, you know, but I'm not kidding you when I tell you. And some of you are going to say, oh, he's just bragging. I'm seriously telling you. every single shot at 20 yards, that's 60 feet, every single shot, when I was practiced up, tuned up, etc. and so forth, I could hit a quarter every single shot with this crossbow. And I'm not exaggerating. I couldn't do that with my 22, standing there holding my 22, but I could do that with this. It's very heavy. It's very easy and very stable. You lean it on your, like this, and you can hold it perfectly still. And it's just killer. It's not very powerful. It's very, very weak, in fact. It's only 30, 35 pounds, something like that. I can't remember now. I even made my own bowstrings. I used to be into competitive archery, so I know a lot about archery. This is made out of walnut. I think I made this when I was 17, probably, somewhere in that time frame. So I've been making stuff a long, long time. You see if I can hang this back up. Probably not. I'll be darned. Second try, got it up there. So what was going on when I was a teenager? Well, my parents weren't wealthy by any stretch. I pretty much, if I wanted something, I pretty much just found a way to get it. And a lot of times that was making it. And that's how it worked out. My dad had a landscaping business, so he had a machine shop, sort of. And I always think my machine shop is dirty and nasty, but compared to my dad's, mine's like Taj Mahal. No, he was really a sloppy worker, really. I mean, he got everything done that he needed to get done, but he did it the old hard way. And but because of that, I had access to a lot of tools and equipment, so I could make a lot of stuff, even as a kid. I actually, and people think I'm making this up, and I swear to you, I promise you, I got no reason to make this up. I actually got my job working for Bell when I was in the 4th grade, working for the telephone company. And you think, how could you do that? Well, I cut the executive's lawn. And the guy said, I've never seen a little kid work that hard unsupervised in my whole life. And he says, does he want a job when he gets out of high school? 2 weeks before I graduated high school, I got the phone call from the guy. I didn't even know his name. I had never met him. He was talking to my dad, and my dad forgot about the conversation too. But the guy followed up and offered me a job, and that's how I got my job. It's the truth. And I only tell you that to just tell you that I was working from a very young age. My dad, he believed in work. I mean, seriously, he did. And that's why to this day, everybody says, you're just a workaholic. You don't ever have any fun. You don't ever play. Well, I guess when you grow up that way, that's all you know. But it is kind of true. Let's see, what else have we got going on here? Having the right tools makes a huge difference. Yes, it does. Now, I back up the truck and tell you that we didn't really have great tools. We just had tools. My dad, he was, most everything he had was broke or really bad shape. There wasn't anything like fancy by any stretch. We didn't have any metal lathes or anything like that. We had welders and a few other things, but we didn't have a lot. Positive vibes from Japan. Well, great. Let's see. Ron, who builds the deer antler saddles for my mandolins. I subcontract out to Ron to make those nowadays. He's a good friend of mine that I worked with at Bell. He has a son that lives in Japan. That's where I was headed with that. His son's been over there for several years. Let's see. Greetings from Thailand. Hard work definitely pays off. What's the worst instrument damage you have seen? Well, I've told that in another video, but I'll try to give you the encapsulated version. A guy, I was out in Dodge City, Kansas. A guy in the dark came up to me, and I'm night blind because I'm colorblind. I can't see in the dark at all. He hands me this instrument and asked me if I could repair it, and I can't even see it. I seriously cannot even see it. I couldn't even see him, let alone the instrument. And I said, well, I can't see it in the dark, so, I'll take it with me. Brought it back to St. Louis. 3 or 4 days went by, and I opened it up, and he had filled the guitar with a probably gallon bottle of Elmer's wood glue, and then turned it around like this. And I swear to you, the glue was a 1/4 inch thick throughout the whole inside of the guitar. He had put paneling up inside of it, baby bed rails up inside of it, and almost every square inch of the top was broken, like in a cross pattern like that. I mean, it wasn't like cracks. It wasn't your typical cracks down the grain line. It wasn't like that. There was cracks across the top. There were cracks everywhere. There were cracks all over the sides and backs. So I called him and I told him these exact words. I said, Mister, I said, I am really sorry I took this instrument. I said, there's nothing I can do for this. I think I'm just going to go throw it in the dumpster. I said, if this was a case of child abuse, it's the worst case of child abuse in the history of the world. I said, I can't even imagine anything worse. He started crying on the phone. I'm not exaggerating. He said, it was my dad's guitar, and it was, it's a 1950 whatever jumbo Gibson or something. I don't even remember what it was, to be perfectly truthful. And you got to fix it. I can't, you got to fix it. I said, all right. I mean, I could tell it really meant something to him at that point. So I backed up the truck a little bit and I said, all right, I'll fix it for you, but you have to, I'm not going to fix it unless you tell me exactly how it got in this shape. So he starts off on this story. He goes, he says, you know how it gets really, really, really cold here in Kansas, right? And I said, yeah, I can imagine it gets pretty cold there. It gets pretty cold where I live. He says, well, it was like 15 below one night. And I was in bed about 1 a.m. and I remembered, oh my gosh, I left that guitar in the trunk of my car. So I didn't even put on my, I didn't put on a coat or shoes or anything. I just ran out there, grabbed the guitar out of the trunk, ran back in the house, opened up the case and set it right next to the wood stove. He says, I jumped back in bed, covered up. He said, about 5 minutes later, I heard it go, kapow! And I said, okay, back up the truck. I said, you're not talking to some moron here. I said, I've been there, I've done that. And yes, that would cause a problem. No question about that. I said, but we have way more damage than that. Way more damage. And I said, you're going to have to come up with a way better story. I said, I believe that part. I can believe that happened, and that would cause those long cracks down the body like I was talking about. I said, but that wouldn't cause one single crack across the grain. I said, so you got to come up with a way better story, or I'm not fixing this thing. And he just he took a big gulp, goes, well, I didn't really want to tell you that part. I said, well, you're going to have to tell me or I'm not fixing it. Because I knew it was some stupid story. It had to be. He says, you've heard the story about where you vibrate your guitar and it'll make it sound better. And I said, yeah, like sitting in front of speakers. Is that what you're talking about? And he goes, yeah. And I said, yeah, that would be fine. I'm sure that wouldn't hurt it. And it probably helps it too. I mean, vibrating the wood, I said so I could sort of understand that, but I said, that didn't cause these breaks. I can tell you for sure that didn't cause them. He goes, no. He says, but that's where we were headed when we thought about this. And he says, a bunch of us, my buddies and I, we were all drunked up one night. It was the 4th of July. And we were out on the front porch talking about this. And we were throwing firecrackers and etc. And one of the guys said, hey, if you put a firecracker in there, that would make it vibrate a lot. And now keep in mind, they were all drunk. He didn't just put one firecracker in it. He put the whole pack in it. Now, that's why you don't drink, guys. I've told you I don't drink and I don't hold with people that drink. I'm sorry. I know that's going to make a lot of people mad, but anything that alters your mind, your way of thinking, I'm totally opposed to it. So there you go. And there's my proof of why right there. And anyway, so he did tell me the truth, and I believed that because that did make sense. And to make the long story short now, or, you know, a very long story shorter. So I chiseled all of the glue out of the inside of it. I threw the top away. It wasn't even salvageable. And I made him a new top for it. And 10 years later, the phone rings. 10 years later. And it's a lady on the phone. And she says, "Sir, you don't probably remember me, but my husband had you fix a guitar for him one time. And you told him that if this was a child, it was the worst case of child abuse in the whole free world." And I said, "Lady, I know exactly who you are." And she says, "Well, he's passed away." And of course, I told her I was sorry. And she said, "I've had an offer for his guitar. Someone wants to buy it. And I didn't know if I should accept the offer or not." And I said, "Well, how much are they offering?" And they said, $3,800. And I said, "Sell it." So obviously I fixed it pretty good. But that was way before YouTube. And so I don't, you know, that was way before, that was probably even way before the internet. But anyway, so I didn't get that one on film, unfortunately. I wished I had, because you seriously wouldn't have believed it. I mean, you know, Chocolate was worse in the sense that it was, you know, busted into shreds and falling apart. This one was worse in the number of breaks it had and the fact that it had a 1/4-inch glue throughout the whole inside of the guitar. And I seriously chiseled all of that glue out. It was just unbelievable. You seriously couldn't believe it. Okay, that was a long story, sorry, but you asked, and so I had to tell you. So Chocolate and that one are kind of tied for the worst I've ever done. And you're going to get to see Chocolate tonight at 4 o'clock. I'm going to take maybe one or two more questions here. We're approaching an hour again, so I'm going to do one or two more, and then we're going to get off here. Hi, Jerry. Mark from Michigan here. Do you have an opinion on carbon fiber stringed instruments? Well, you know, a few of them I've heard have sounded really good. You know, they don't do it for me just because I like the wood thing. But, you know, I don't have anything opposed to them. I think some of them sound really, really good. And they look kind of cool. So I don't really have anything against them. They just don't give me the fizz. You know, that's all. Let's see. Looks like a job for a laser cutter. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, the sound hole thing. Yeah, my laser cutter isn't big enough to fit the whole top in there. I'm going to probably get a bigger laser cutter, and I might use it to do things like cutting out those F holes, just because they would be perfect, number one, and number two, I wouldn't have to, you know, deal with it. Because, you know, if I can mechanize something that, you know, makes sense and doesn't take away the quality or the value and actually adds, then I don't see any problem with mechanizing it. But I don't ever really plan to mechanize the carving of them. I might mechanize the rough out, but the final detail carving, I will always probably do that by hand. It's just as an example, just the other day on this particular top, I called Caleb over and I said, you know, here's my plans. And I don't show these numbers on camera, by the way, but I showed Caleb the number. I said, here's the number I was carving this to, and to the 1,000th of an inch, it was exactly the same number. Now, 1,000th of an inch, guys, take your hair, split it about 4 ways, and that's 1,000th of an inch. You know, I mean, it's carved that accurately. I really do get down to the detail in the carving. And I got those measurements off of a Lloyd Loar mandolin, which was one of the loudest Lloyd Loar mandolins ever. And surprise, surprise, my mandolins are crazy loud, you know. So that's why I do it that way. No point in reinventing the wheel on that. Engelmann spruce or normal spruce? Well, I don't know if there is such thing as normal spruce, but there's all kinds. There's Engelmann spruce, there's Sitka spruce, there's Adirondack spruce. You know, the Adirondack spruce is also known as red spruce. I don't know all of those terms and things. And the truth is, I don't guess I have an opinion in terms of which one is better. Most people tend to agree that the Adirondack spruce is about the best you can do. It was what they used on the pre-war Martin guitars and things. And most everybody really likes the Adirondack spruce. So that's my preference. That's what I use. I've heard some really great guitars built out of Sitka, out of Engelmann, out of, just all kinds of woods, redwood, western cedar. So, I'm not snobbish in that regard. I mean, you can make a good instrument out of a lot of different things. So it doesn't have to be just one way. Can't wait to see and hear Chocolate. Well, again, I don't mean to build it up so much, but seriously, you're going to enjoy Chocolate tonight. You really will. If you don't like this video about Chocolate, then I'm telling you straight up and down, just don't ever watch another one of my videos, because you won't like any of them. There's no point in it. It's just that simple. If you don't like this one, there's no point in watching any of the rest of them. Deal wood is evergreen wood. Deal and slabs. I don't know what that means. Deal wood. I have no idea. Maybe it's a typo. I don't know. I think every guitar is different. No one is the same. Yeah, to some degree, that's true. And a lot of people, a lot of luthiers, and I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of people have said, every mandolin I make sounds different, every violin I make sounds different, and every guitar I make sounds different. Well, my experience, because I think it's because I am so meticulous on the thousands of inches and et cetera and so forth, my experience is almost exactly opposite. Almost all of mine sound almost exactly the same. As a matter of fact, I've had people come up to me at festivals. I mean, more than one time. This has happened a lot of times. And they say, I can always tell a Rosa mandolin. I can always tell a Rosa mandolin. There you go. So I kind of, my experience is different than that. Everybody does say that, and I kind of tend to agree with that also, because my experience is working on all the different Martin guitars. This one's really good. This one's okay. This one's great. This one's a boomer. This one's not. Mine have been pretty dang level consistent. That's just my experience. And I don't know. Pretty much guaranteeing you're going to get what you've been seeing if you get one of mine. If you don't like that, don't get it. That's all I can tell you. I love lag guitars, great quality instruments. Looking at another acoustic by them I don't know lag actually. Laguna maybe or something. I don't know what lag is. How come you never did video building a series on a fiddle? That's only because no one has commissioned one. If somebody commissions one, I'll build one. My last one I built for a nice young lady. I don't think she lived too far from here, and she commissioned it, and I built her a killer violin. I mean, seriously telling you, this thing sounded so awesome. I wish you could have heard it played. But anyway, when I got done with it and I asked her about the color, it was like stepping on a plum. It was just, I said, well, how do you want me to color it? It's got to be purple. I said, you're going to take a $3,000 violin and make me color it purple? I said, you're going to turn a $3,000 violin into a $100 garage sale item just by making it purple. I don't care. I want it purple. I made it purple. The customer is always right. But I guarantee you on this earth, there's no finer sounding purple violin anywhere on the planet. I mean, that is one thing I'll flat guarantee you. That thing was an awesome sounding violin. I seriously can't brag on it enough in terms of sound. It was a killer sound. It really was. And it's purple. I think I show it on my website, but I don't know why I do, but I think I do show it on my website somewhere. But anyway, it was a really nice, really, really nice violin. But like I said, if somebody else commissions one, I'll build you one. Would it be possible to somewhat reshape F holes on a violin that were originally crudely carved? Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I've done it many times. Yeah, in fact, one of the things that happens on a lot of the old violins, and I've got a video on it, the mouse hole, Grandpa's mouse hole fiddle, I think I called it, or something like that. Thank you, Cliff's Random Silliness. I appreciate that contribution there. He just made a contribution. Thank you. But yeah, the F-holes, that's one of the favorite places for the mice to gnaw on and chew on. And old violins that are left in attics or basements or whatever, sometimes they get a mouse hole chewed right out in them. And I've had to actually replace sections of wood in those and then recarve it and recarve the F-hole. And I've done that several times, actually. How about a nice solid guitar? I don't know what that means. A nice solid guitar. You mean like an electric guitar? You know, electric is not my expertise. So, I mean, I don't have anything against it, but I'm not the guy you should commission to build an electric guitar. That should be commissioned by somebody who builds electric guitars. You know, I'm sure I could build a nice one. There's no doubt about it, but I don't know that I'm the expert in that area, so why should I do that? I think you would be way better off hiring someone else on that one. 3 green Mandos, please. Okay. I'm not sure what that means. Sometimes these things just go right over my head. Purple violin is on your site, but it looks a bit blue. Yeah, that may just be the camera and all that. It was real purple. She was real happy. And the only reason I know it was real purple is because I had somebody else help me mix the color. I wouldn't have been able to get it to be purple, trust me. But that's the way she wanted it. So that's what she got. Well, I'm probably going to get off here. Thank you all for watching. There's been almost 400 of you here watching, and about 100 thumbs up. So if you want to make another 100 or 2 of those thumbs up, that'd be fine. Guys, I'll see you live this evening. Well, you won't see me live, but you'll see the video live, and we'll be on there chatting with you live at about 4 o'clock our time here. And I'm not sure what time that is for you where you are, but we're on Missouri Ozark Hillbilly time. And it'll be 4 o'clock. Chocolate will go live. Seriously, be there or be square. You're going to love that video. I can't even believe it myself. See you then. Bye.